What's your favorite color?
I would say like teal blue. Okay, let's set the mood. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we already have it. The calming colors are my favorite colors.
You like that a little bit more?
It's nice, yeah.
That's more green.
It's more green, but yeah, a good light blue. It's nice. Pretty much where you already
like
have
that?
it. Yeah, it's good.
It's either that or we could go back to that one.
That one's good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Might make or break the podcast.
Yeah, it might. But I think I was good on the first one. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
No, I like the calming one too. One
Yeah?
person, I think we've only done one episode in red,
Oh, no.
and it wasn't bad. But I remember I was
Yeah.
thinking, it's like this is very aggressive.
Yeah.
We're not doing
Yeah.
any more red episodes.
Yeah.
Even if they ask for it, I might just tell them no. I'll be like, I can meet you in the middle and give you orange, but red, we're not going down that route again.
Yeah. I can see the orange is an okay calming color maybe, but the blue is always preference.
Yeah, I love the blue or the teal. You sure you don't want me to cook you up some tea or coffee or anything?
No,
You're good with
that's
just water?
good. Yeah, I'm just drinking water.
Okay.
I'm trying to be healthy for Otterfest.
Otterfest?
Trying to be healthy for Otterfest in the pool, you know.
Is that tonight, tomorrow?
Well, it's tomorrow. Yeah.
I want to go to Otterfest.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
It's at Hippie Hollow.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great time.
In the evening or afternoon?
It's during the day.
During the day?
Yeah, it's like at the Hippie Hollow, section 14, gay area. So like a bunch of boats, a bunch of people coming by land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a fun time.
Maybe I'll check it out. Have you been before?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I have my gay parents that I go with, so it's a good time.
Sorry.
No problem. Let's go into airport mode. Ready?
Good to go?
Yeah, good to go. I
All
think
right, my
so, yeah.
friend. Here we go. All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of David's Saturday Night Sit Back. Tonight, I am very grateful to be sitting across from Matticus Rex. Matticus is a champion for Kaleidoscopic, Cognition, and Multifaceted Ideation, and has held titles ranging from Head of Expansion, Chief of Staff, and Senior Global Enterprise Relationship Manager. He's known for having a remarkable bias for action, distilling complex ideas into clear and compelling messages, and has helped with coworkers who have struggled with imposter syndrome through the action he took to get to the career level he is at currently. He's also my favorite self-proclaimed D-list gay celebrity with a microphone, and by the end of this episode, I hope he'll be yours too. Matticus, welcome to your episode of David's Saturday Night Sit Back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. Are you happy?
Yeah, what a great intro. I appreciate that. I thought I was the only one that was allowed to call myself a D-list celebrity, but I'll accept it from you as well. No, but that was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm not gonna lie. I had to look it up. I don't know what a D-list celebrity meant, and I already forgot. What does that mean?
I was just trying to be funny with it. It just like means like you're on commercials or you're just like the bottom tier. You know, most people are like, you should put A-list celebrity. I was like, I
don't
think
like it now.
No, yeah, it's exactly right. I was like, oh, he included that in the intro. Cool. But no, it's more just to be funny. You know, when we're going out, the videos that I'm doing, like, I don't want them to be too serious. And people are like, oh, you're not that great at this. Or they're like, you are really great. And I was like, hey, you don't get any better, you know, without trying. So we all started from here. So
Yeah.
I'm like, here, I'm going to start at D-list. I'll work my way up.
I guess I was thinking about that yesterday. I was listening to this podcast, and one of the questions they asked was along the lines of, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1, you're the worst in the world, 10 is you're the best in the world, where are you? And I was thinking, I think I'd rate myself at a 5.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm the worst. Like 1, 2, and 3, I'm past that.
Yeah.
No way in hell I'm an 8, 9, or a 10. So I just 5. I'm getting there.
Yeah, no, but I think there's always room for improvement. If anybody's out there rating themselves 9 or 10, like, there's something wrong with them in the head, right?
Like, just a little bit of narcissism and egotistical.
Exactly. Probably a bad podcast host, bad manager, bad person.
Right. How about you? So if you're thinking about just your Instagram, or I don't want to say Instagram, but if you think of the content that you've been creating in the last 90 days, where do you think your skill set of an interviewer is between 1 and 10?
Well, yeah, I've only been going for 3 weeks now, so I'm about to flip into my 4th week. So I would say it's pretty low, but I'm getting, dramatically improving. I'm probably at that 3-4 mark, I think. And I'm hoping, to improve as I continue to invest in myself, like better equipment, actually having dedicated camera people, understanding like what questions that people respond well to, as well as locations. Now clubs are inviting me there.
Really?
Yeah, I'm getting different brand deals and things like that. I'm getting to reward the people that talk to me with drink tickets and fun things that make things more exciting. So I'm excited about that. So I guess somebody believes that I'm doing well. A lot of people, I guess, are giving me a lot of great feedback. But I wish that they would show me that by following my page and interacting with my views. That's the first thing I ask you. Like, do you follow me? you like or comment? And they're like, no, but your videos are great. I was like,
That's what,
not very helpful.
I have the exact, I resonate with you so much on that, man. Well, I'll have a friend or a family member text me, or like someone will even go out of their way to find my email. This has only happened a few times. I don't want to make it seem like my email is blowing up, because it's not. But I'll get a message from someone that I've never met, and they'll say, hey, I listened to your episode with Matticus. It was great, da-da-da-da-da. And I'll respond back and say, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have you given the show a review? And it's funny that they'll hunt me down my email, write a few paragraphs, but they haven't gone onto Spotify and just click that damn 5-star button, you know?
I couldn't agree more. I literally have like other famous TikTok people comment on videos like, we're like, I love your videos, or I'll comment on other things. They're like, I love your videos. I'm like, I'll believe you when you follow me back. Or, you know, or I was just at this last Tuesdays here, and a TikToker actually came up to me, which I've been following him for a long time, and he's like, Matticus is so great to meet you. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I've been following you for months. You know, like, I was like, you know who I am? And he's like, yeah. So as we're standing there, people keep coming up to us and telling us that they're seeing our TikToks. And I was like, we should do like a face-off to see who gets more hellos. And believe it or not, I was getting more hellos, maybe because I'm newer and he's in fashion. But I was like, this is kind of cool. It's really exciting to get people, noticed, and they want to interview with you. So I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Good. Shit. I lost my train of thought.
I love that.
Oh, you know what I find funny that was hilarious when I was going through your Instagram page? Why do you think when you ask people kiss or slap, why does 99% of people slap you?
Because I only post the slaps. That's a really good question. So people are like, you don't get any kisses? I mean, yeah, of course I get kisses.
You got one. Yeah.
I got a lot more than one. But I get kisses all the time. But people want to see the slaps. People want to see people in pain, right? Why do we watch horror movies, But no, I mean, the kisses are okay, but I think the slaps are really entertaining for me. So I plan to like put the kisses in like a video all together, but I love the slaps. When somebody wants to slap me, I'm like, oh, you're gonna go up for sure.
Yeah. Okay. That from a marketing standpoint, I understand completely. But I was like, why is everyone slapping this poor man? He's so friendly. He's so nice. Like, will someone kiss the motherfucker? Like,
no, they do. Or sometimes I'll get both off camera. They're like, I'm sorry, but I actually had someone slap me so freaking hard that I know, and I actually won't talk to this person anymore. So a lot of people that I run into, like I know on a regular basis, are peers, and this guy, he's like took his rings off and he slapped the shit out of me, and I'm like, bro, like you messed me up for the whole night. I can't interview people like this, And he saw me later on, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, it's just a friendly slap. I slap hard. I'm like, you messed up, bro. You messed up.
How hard was it?
I mean, like hard. Like security at the club came by to make sure I was okay. It looked like we were like in an altercation.
Jeez.
I'm like, dude,
what?
You ain't saving this up, man. That's ridiculous.
Well, and some people too, like, I need to remember, this is going to make it sound like I just go around hitting people all the time. But I think sometimes you forget how strong you are.
Oh, I think he knew.
Or maybe he knew.
Yeah, but either way, he said, you wanted it. I was like, all right, bro. Like, I'm not going to forget that.
Maybe before you go finding yourself a dedicated camera person, you need to find yourself a dedicated bodyguard.
Yeah, I think so. Well, luckily, the bars are looking out for me pretty well. I don't know if you saw my most viral video of a young lady kind of like, coming into one of my videos, but she did that like 3 times. And I work really closely with, the bar management now. And they're like, hey, dude, like security's on your side. We'll kick anybody out, eject them for you at all the locations I go to. So I feel really protected. And like I said, this guy did slap me in the face and security was on him. And I'm like, hey, we're good. It's just for a video,
Yeah.
So I feel pretty safe. For now.
For now, yeah.
Not on 6th Street, so I'll probably need somebody there, but...
I'll go with you.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
I'll wear a different shirt. I'll wear my all black outfit or something, and yeah. Damn it. I lost my train of thought again. You're talking about slapping, bodyguards, social media. Oh, the lady that kept taking your mic.
Yeah.
That one got to me a little bit. And when I made that comment, when I joked and I said, that's why I like podcasting from the safety of my home, there's definitely some truth in that, because, I mean, look at me. I've lost focus twice already, and we have 0 distractions. So you being in a club, people all around you, you got music, you're thinking about your next question, and then while you're in the middle of talking to someone, you have someone just come in between you, hijack your mic, and be like, you are much more tenacious than I am, sir. So,
thank
bravo.
you. Yeah, I wanted to post the other parts on there because like she's known in the community for abusing herself. Like she does say like like gay slurs, and she's kind of just like is friends with other people, but she interrupted like 3 of my videos, and she's like tried to rip this mic out of my hand, and that's the only one you guys saw in the video, but there was two other times it happened the same night. I'm like, hey, you're gonna break my mic. It's fragile. She's like, I can replace it. I was like, you have to pay for my equipment, my time. The club has me here, and my camera person. I was like, this is like, you can just replace my mic. Like, you just have to be respectful, you know. And I was like really shocked on how many people in the comments are on her side, you know. And it went a lot of fun, like, you know, cis, white, and gender, and is she straight or is she not? And honestly, to me, it like doesn't matter. Like, that's just like disrespectful. Right. It's the same thing as taking someone's their phone out of their hand, and they're like, oh, because she's a woman and not a man, like it's, you know, it's different. I was like, this is supposed to be a safe place for, you know, the LGBT plus, you know, Q plus, and it wasn't, you know. And, you know, but of course that, you know, the club owner is all about, you know, making sure it's safe. So I should have said something, but I you know, posted that not knowing that it would get such, like, it's very separated. I don't know if you had a chance to look at any of those reviews or any of those comments, but it's pretty intense.
I might go read them. I didn't, because I don't like other people's comments to influence mine. So sometimes when I'm posting on someone else's content, I'll just leave whatever it is I want to say, and then I move on. On that one, I didn't happen to read them, but I know what I'm going to read is I'm sipping my wine and going to bed with the dog on my lap tonight.
Yeah.
Jump in that feed, bro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people like even that are gay on there, and they're like, well, she's the queen, she owns the moment, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, all right, thanks for watching.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's that saying that, you know, any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah,
so at the end of the day, if that happened, particular post went viral and it ended up getting you 100 new followers and another new club reached out to you and was like, hey, Matticus, we'd love to have you over here, that you're winning.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not mad about it, you know. And initially, like that, she actually came up to me a couple of days later on when we were at a club, and actually texted me the next day, and she like told me to take it down. And I'm like, well, like, are you gonna apologize? She's like, absolutely not. You should apologize to me for calling me an annoying straight woman. I was like, well, I think the video speaks for itself. You know, like, I mean, it does, right? I mean, like, you saw it, you saw yourself. You know, but no apologies. And so I was like, hey, well, I'll just continue to keep it up. But I was prepared to take it down. But yeah, you're right. It has given me a lot of extra publicity, so it will keep on living.
There's one episode that won't go live for about another 4 weeks. But the idea behind the episode was that it was going to be how a 21-year-old essentially decided to not go to college and scaled his business to 100,000 in revenue before he turned 21 or something along those lines. So he shows up, and 20 minutes into the episode, I think I asked him something along the lines of, you know, what ethics do you drive your business by, or what is your company's core values, or something to that effect. And he was like, well, my father's a pastor and I was raised Christian. Oh, by the way, do you go to were you raised Christian by chance? And I said, I was, but I don't go to church anymore. He said, why not? And I said, well, as a gay man, the church that I was going to clashed with my personal values. I church hopped for a while and ended up leaving. And so then what followed was a 2-hour conversation that I was not expecting to have about essentially my stance on who I am as a person and his stance on why homosexuality is a sin. And after he left, it took me 2 or 3 days to sort of process the conversation, and I was almost thinking I might not post it. And then I was like, I'd be a fucking idiot not to. Yeah, this could be the one where we see the views go from like this to like that, because it is such a controversial topic. And at the end of the day, one thing that I was incredibly grateful for is that he was very respectful. You know, the entire time it was a lot of listening. Neither of us were interrupting each other. There's no one else I would have wanted to have that conversation with, honestly. And I think we both brought up a lot of great points, and I think a lot of people will like the conversation. So at the end of the day, I think as long as, to your point about respect, that podcast episode will get posted because of how we both conducted each other. If he was slinging insults at me and telling me I'm going to go to hell and being super rude or talking over me, I wouldn't post that shit, or maybe I would. I don't know. At the end of the day, though, tangent over. Be respectful is what I'm getting at.
No, I love that. I actually had a couple of people like kind of go on a tangent when I'm recording with them, and I was like, you realize that like I edit these, right? Like, I'm not gonna post that. Like, I'm not gonna post you going off of me or whatever this is that you're saying. Like, it's not gonna make it out. It's not gonna make it out.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what?
You can edit?
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, actually, yeah, I'm not gonna post you at all. Same live. You know? But on the same side, I'm like, I'm also very nice. So if people are I try to stay away from people that are drunk or you know, or any type of substances. You know, that I try not to post those guys like, hey, I don't think you're good for today. Or if they're like, oh, I think I was drunk, I won't post those either.
Sure.
You know, try to be nice. But
Is the what have you thought about what your end game is, or currently what you think the end game is? Like, do you want to? Are you trying to work yourself into a career within?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my end goal is I would love to be on the TED stage. I have a really great, business background, and I've really been using this to continue to build my confidence. Being in front of random people. I'm continuing to network. I love networking, and it's been really exciting and exhilarating to do that. Of course, and then like editing content is a whole nother issue. So it's kind of a good start to like, okay, how we're gonna get this set up. I actually, do articles and stuff on LinkedIn and wanted to do more videos and stuff. But it's kind of hard to talk about some of your personal things for yourself. And I think like I've gotten feedback from some of my viewers and even some of the people that are mentoring me that like they don't really know me as well. So I think it was really cool to share that with you here today. To kind of like get that background a little bit.
Yeah, let's jump into that right now. You were born in Canada?
Yeah, so I'm from Toronto, Ontario, and I live like in between Jacksonville, Florida. My father lives in Toronto, so it's a good random upbringing, I would say. It's very yin yang. I guess.
Very what?
Very very much yin yang
Between Ontario and Florida?
Yeah, because you have like such a really nice population of people, in the north, compared to people that are quite. I want to say like. I don't want to say obnoxious, but like just like overwhelming with their southern hospitality on the things they want to know. So people, up north are like they're like, "Hi, how are you?" And that's the conversation. Like, "Hi, how like like crossing the street, you're a stranger." Like in here or like south, in Florida, it's just like, "Oh, like oh, how are you? What are you doing?" Like, well, I'm in the elevator with you. I don't want to know you. Like it's like that was really weird. For me to get used to, or people holding doors open forever. But yeah. It's a definitely different weird upbringing.
You have any siblings?
I do have 5 sisters.
Holy cow!
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know them that well. So we were separated through getting raised, and there's 2 of them that I kind of communicate with now, and trying to be a better brother, which is really hard. Just to give a little bit of background on that, it's like I kind of like lived in the system and in shelters, and lived back and forth. Our family was on the run a lot from abusive husbands or partners, and I didn't really realize what that was until I aged into an adult. I was like, we're just moving around all the time, but I'm like, and I didn't get to go everywhere because I was a boy, right? So I'm gonna get separated. A lot of women's shelters don't accept boys after a certain age, and I wasn't really able to get into them like after like that 11 years old, because you're starting to hit that puberty mark. You can't be in a women's shelter.
Sure.
So I kind of get to go like do my own thing, and but now that my sisters are kind of I'm trying to get in their lives. Some of them have had kids, or actually most of them have had children. I'm like trying to get know them, but it does feel like a stranger, and that's tough. But I don't know how to be a better brother. I tell myself all the time, I was like, I need to call more, I need to be involved. But I started going to like the Thanksgiving or Christmas, which is super overwhelming. I'm sure anybody that's been in my situation that got to re-meet their family is, it's tough, it's hard. Like my mother died from pancreatic cancer, so we have, that, and they just want to be closer. And I think every time I see them, it just reminds me of all the trauma that we experienced. So I'm like, I don't really want to talk to them that much.
That's a tough road to walk. Where at one point you want to be in their lives on one hand, and then on the other hand, it brings back all these memories that that. So I'm sorry, man. That's
yeah. Well, it's like on top of that, like initially, like I think that my parents knew that I had gay tendencies when I was younger, and they kind of put me through the ringer. My mother, particularly, would always ask her if she had 4 husbands and many other boyfriends. We all have different fathers, and so that's another reason I don't feel as connected to them, because they're like half sisters. But,
all 5 of them.
Well, one of them is full blood. My eldest, we think. We're not quite sure, but I think we think. But these guys, she's like, hey, like make a man out of my son, And I don't think she knew like what I would endure for that. It was really really bad. They were trying to make me this tough, mudded boy. Because I liked girl stuff. Or I wanted to play with Barbies, or I liked high heels. So, I got taken away, and put into different places, and then they're like, okay, we'll do better. And they're like, okay, we're going to send him back again. And I was like, I just wish I could just get adopted, by a different family. And every time like I'd find something that I really liked or was doing really well, they're like, all right, you're going back again. And I was like, this sucks.
So why do they send you back? Does the shelter only hold these particular shelters? Will they only let a child stay there for a certain amount of time, and if you don't get adopted, do they kick you out? That's a tough.
No. You kind of got moved around to like halfway houses or whatever you want to call them, but you don't necessarily get kicked out. But your family or anyone that's like blood relatives has the opportunity to take you, right? So they're before someone else can try to adopt you. They're like, okay, well, you have an aunt, you have an uncle. Like, they're gonna go through the list, and that sucks because like my mom doesn't have any family. She's like an only child. Her mom also died, so I just have my dad's family, which was just not. They're just like ghetto to me. And I was like, it was not good. I did get to live with my grandparents, but it was just like the ghetto worst place of Jacksonville, Florida. It's actually called White House. Pretty terrible place, and I just hated it. But there was one family I lived with from a girl that I went to school with, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And I really thought that was going to be the one. And then I didn't get to stay with them. So I actually ended up filing for emancipation at 16 and was able to get out of all of it. So I ended up like living on my own, was able to, kind of be an adult, which was really hard, which, caused me to drop out of high school and then test out a lot, which just went crazy from there.
Yeah. So when your mom would tell her current boyfriend or husband, what was the phrase you used 2-3 moments ago?
To make a man out of him.
What would they? So then, what would they do?
Some pretty terrible things. It depends. Like like caused me to have like pain infliction on purpose. I like one of them wanted. I used to be a really great swimmer. I used to be able to go under the water a lot, but I was drowned by like one of my mom's partners, and because he wanted me to be a better swimmer. And now I can't go under the water anymore. I was afraid of the dark as a child, and they're like, to be a man, blah blah blah, and they would just do some weird stuff like putting me like in the closet. You have that shelf at the top, like putting the that you're a small kid up there, and just like leaving you in the dark of the closet. But and it gets worse and worse. Probably not things appropriate for podcasting, but from like there's things like foods I can't eat, like mustard. Because it gives me like trauma shock of like things that happened along with it, and
oh my God, you should have told me before you came over. I would have thrown out all the mustard, bro. Yeah. It'd be long gone.
It's pretty terrible. So I mean, like I think of like you make fun of me using like female names like Madeline. I don't know if you know Madeline the movie, but she's kind of got like this like principal that loves like chocolate cake and is like real crazy or whatever. But anyways, like I haven't heard that name in so long, and I was literally doing a presentation at Google, a few years ago, and one of my colleagues made a joke, and he called me that name, and I was like, he's like, please don't call me that again, and he just started chanting it, and I broke down, like it was like so intense, like because you had to block this out, and like I have like, and they don't know what they're doing wrong, so it's like the mustard thing, like people think it's funny, like. But there's like some real stuff connected to that, and as much trauma therapy as I go to, it's really hard to like try to get past it. But I'm trying to like forgive those people, it's just the next hardest step, I guess.
Condiments.
Yeah,
that's literally. I haven't heard. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you to this day, can you like if you and your friends wanted to if we wanted to go swimming together afterwards because it's hot out, could you, or do you avoid water for the most part at this point?
No,
in your life?
So I can. It's funny because I was actually in the pool this week and like and everyone was getting thrown in the water and they're like, oh Matticus, you're the last one. Like we have to mess up your hair, and I'm like crying. Like
Matticus.
And it sucks because like I'm this 30-year-old adult and like I want to grow up and get past it, but it's so hard, so it's like, you have to tell them like, hey, like, please don't do this, like, and they don't understand, right. And luckily they didn't throw me in the water because other people have already bared witness to my, emotional breakdowns, I guess. And they're like, just don't do it, like he has these triggers. But no, I can go in the water. I'm like, okay, you can wet my hair if that makes you happy, but I just don't want to be underwater anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, between your first time in why in the first place were you even in a is shelter the correct term?
Yeah. So a women's shelter was like when they're first starting. So we get put there because my mom had like abusive partners. So like ultimately like you pretty much like leave with nothing. Gotcha. You get taken onto a women's shelter and they accommodate you like they usually. So like I love like Salvation Army as much as like it's not like gay loving, but like they helped me get a lot of things in my life. But they give you a good start. So, and they work especially with us with kids. But I went to like almost 14 schools as a child growing up, running that much, different cities, and I really, really didn't understand it. I'm like, why are we moving so much? Where are we going? Like, who are all these guys? And you're like, my mom was. I live in her shadow, or I want to be like her because she was such a hustler, like always coming up with new company ideas, never letting anything get her down. Like she's got all these kids to take care of, like what a fighter. Yeah. And yet she ended up with these like, pretty terrible men. And I think when I was younger, I held that against her. But I was like, I don't feel like there was a choice to be had, like, how do you get by? Like, she's working, but it's the way that the world is set up. You need that second income. Yeah. But I love that she was always coming up with like really critical, great ideas, setting up companies for these guys that she was with, and that's, that's what I made my career into, is working with companies, helping them streamline and build out new ideas.
And so between 11 and 15, you basically were jumping around all these different shelters, all these different schools. I'm assuming it sounds like you were separated from your sisters at age 11 as well, or were
Yeah. No, it started all the way back from like age 4. It's like when the first disruption was, so it was literally on my birthday. And I can like remember it in my mind, like look back at it. And it was just at the very night, and that's just like when the world changed. It was weird because like my father actually was like a gangbanger, and at that time in the U.S., like you can either you can join the military or you can go to prison. He robbed a convenience store, and he chose to join the military, and he tested high enough to be in military intelligence. So really cool. That's how they met. My mom like really helped build a company for him, and we went from like nothing to having a lot. And then we never saw that life again after like my fourth birthday. It was always like a real struggle. But I just having to be able to see that, even as a young child, people like, how do you remember this? I always knew I wanted more. I knew that I never wanted to struggle. And then, my family really casted me out for being gay. They're like, we don't know how to love you. Like, this is a sin. And I'm like, I'm still the same guy, Right. So my mom like stopped talking to me, after I left. And, so did the rest of my family. They didn't know what to do, I guess. And I'm like, I'll show you, like, what we're capable of. And I never looked back. I fell down a lot. I definitely hit rock bottom a lot of times. But I was like, just like I was saying earlier to you, is like, this is the bottom. Like, there's nothing but up from this point,
So you knew as young as 4 years old that you were gay?
No, I don't think that I knew that I was gay at 4 years old. I think that my parents knew that I was showing gay tendencies, and I think they introduced me to a lot of gay stuff, from retention and everything. Like they're like, we're gonna send you here, and you're gonna go to military school, blah blah blah. I was like, I think you guys made me a little gayer, honestly. Like I don't know, just to be fair, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It is really interesting.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that night when you were 4, or would you prefer not to go into details on it?
I mean, that's not really, maybe the worst one. I think that the story that I'm told when I was 4 was that my mother had found like a VHS type. Yeah, if you guys know what those are.
Well, what is that, right? Matticus?
Yeah, VHS.
VHS.
These are the old devices where you could plug things in and watch old sex movies, I guess. But no, so I guess my father had gay porn in his work truck that my mom had found, and that's what caused this immediate breakup and fight. Then when she moved to my father was never aggressive to me, but then she moved to all of our next partners. Were almost all but one were abusive, and the one that wasn't abusive turned out to be a pedophile. So it's like they're all getting it, right?
Which devil is the least worse?
Yeah, so.
Jeez.
But I know my mom tried really hard. I think that the next partner she moved on to, she actually had, she got pregnant with him. My father wanted to take her back, but she was pregnant and he asked for her to abort the baby, which she couldn't. She didn't want to do it, which I'm glad she didn't. My little sister really lives today, and she's beautiful. But that's the only thing holding him back. My father never got in a relationship after that. He's never been with a woman or a man or anyone. I've never met any of his partners. So I always seem to wonder, but that next partner is kind of like just where it went down, downhill, like, getting drowned, getting force-fed foods, getting like, bleeding and dragged through the concrete, just like all kinds of crazy things to try to like, toughen me up.
Were they trying to make you bigger?
No. It was just like, because I was picky as a child, like most children are.
God forbid.
Yeah,
you terrible child.
And, yeah, so they're gonna like, he wanted, like, it was like bologna mustard sandwiches that they would force me to eat, which is like, so like I just like get so nauseous thinking about it. I'm like, no, I think I could do better. But before, it was just like the smell would just like kill me.
Yeah.
But just because he liked it, not because it's gonna bulk you or anything. It's just like something he wanted to do. And like, I can't drink beer, because I'm forced to be drinking beer as a child. Like.
Wow. How old were you?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Oh.
Too young. Like, too young is
way too young. Yeah, way too young.
And was that the same idea? Like, men drink beer, so therefore we're gonna, like, if you drink this, maybe it'll make your gay tendencies go away. Was that sort of the?
I honestly wish that I knew like what his thought process was, because I don't know. I have no idea. But I just know like it was wrong.
Yeah.
When I look back at it, and it's caused me like where I can't do things in my adult life. So, yeah. I'm not sure what I was thinking of it. I just know I didn't like it, and I was, quite vocal about it.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what did that impact your relationship with alcohol? Do you drink at all now, or?
So there's actually a huge impact with my life in alcohol and like drugs, because of like the way that I was raised. I mean, my father kind of after he got out of the military got really back into drugs. He was a drug dealer, and got to see some pretty crazy things and what they do to people that don't pay. It's not good.
Sons of Anarchy shit.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I thought we were here with the dad on the weekend. I didn't know I was gonna get to see this kind of stuff, on like a episode of Weeds over here. And then my mom was a straight up alcoholic, dude. Like she would drink. She would party with me. We would dance in the living room or whatever, and like and that really affected me. I initially like my dream was to be a Mountie. I wanted to be a law enforcement officer, and that dream died rather quickly because of like noticing like how the U.S. system works. So I served as a PSO, a public service officer, and got a taste of it for about a year. And I ended up getting arrested in the adjacent city called Harker Heights, throwing a Christmas gay party and stuff. Unlawful arrest. Got rights to sue. It was thrown out by the grand jury, like a whole big deal. But I still wanted to be a police officer. I was suspended. I kind of like just kind of moved on, but they ended up housing me with Gen Pop, which is illegal, because you can be killed, and along with all the other things, they don't want to extradite me back to my city that I worked at. So it was pretty crazy, and that really like changed my eyes, and I'm like I kind of wanted to go in a different direction. This is not what I thought I would be. Some of the officers that I worked with, they're like, they would up the charges on African American children. Had BB guns, and they're like, oh, they have guns, it's gonna be a felony, and like he wants to use gang names, and oh, he kicked the window, so I'm gonna upgrade it to a resisting arrest, and I'm like, and even if they make it to the prosecutor and the prosecutor drops these charges, or or lowers them, that arrest will always say a felony. These people cannot afford to get rid of that. So that's really tough. Like the expungement process and everything. Like I was like, this is not what I wanted to be a part of. So I ended up going to work for a private 911 company called Bluebird Enterprises. We did like medical jets, 911 EMS services, police fire, and did 911 call taking to start off. And that shit was traumatic. But what a great experience, honestly. And I ended up excelling. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you're really bad at this. But I was like, you're bad at everything before you try, right? And then you get really good. I ended up being, a supervisor. Then I became a commander, and then I was over the entire CAD system, which is the person that's like the head of contact with the courts. That were the county court commissions. So we're working with them and make sure that everybody's responding appropriately and so forth. So I definitely achieved really high there, and then I just started getting recruited at tech companies after that, and that's where my life got really exciting, I think.
When we'll come back to that, that's definitely going to be something we discuss in a little bit. When you were in Gen Pop, what was that experience like? And parts. Oh my God. Yeah, let's just start with that.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't really talk about this much, and I've been doing a better job at telling people about it because it's wrong, But you know, it's kind of embarrassing to say that you've been arrested, but especially unlawfully, you know, but like being in Gen Pop was really scary, you know, because you know, these three other guys in here, much older than me, you know, I'm very young.
How old were you at this point?
I think it was like 19 or 20. It was super young, because I'd gone through like the Explorer programs to get to that where I was. But I'm like, this is insane, you know? And they're like, well, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Like, everybody wants to have general conversation with you. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. There's nothing else. Yeah. I don't really have a job. Like, I've never met anybody here. Like, can you imagine, like, one of the jailers are like, hey, Matticus. I'm like, oh, no. What are you doing here? But yeah, luckily they were pretty cool there. You know, we just kept to ourselves. You know, I made it through. I was only there for about 12 hours, and, you know, I got bailed out. And then, you know, it didn't go anywhere from there. That was it, you know. But it was definitely a really scary experience. Like, I knew it was wrong. I told them it was wrong. You know, like, it took them a lot of power to try to arrest me in the first place, you know, but they were determined. Harker Heights is actually certified by a different type of agency than TCOL. Most police officers use TCOL certification, but they use something different, and it's just like anybody can be a police officer there. But yeah, it was terrible.
Why do you think they were so determined to arrest you?
So I was at this club called Rumors, which was this like up and coming like club that was like known for having gay people, you know, all the time. And they did not want a gay club in Harker Heights or Killeen or anywhere, right? So this is like before, you know, gay was allowed.
How old are you now?
I'm 30 now.
So this was 11 years ago, so 2012-ish?
Yeah, perfect. 2012, exactly, yeah.
What city and state were you in? I'm sorry if you said already.
It was in Harker Heights, Texas.
Texas, okay.
Yeah, Harker Heights, yeah. Yeah, so it was this Rumors Club, which is right on the border of Killeen and Harker Heights. And they were serving, you know, the gay population, and, you know, other people were arrested too, and they were always getting, like, you know, hazed on, and, you know, officers out there trying to pull people over, give people DUIs or whatever, you know, like, you're just getting picked on. But the club ended up getting shut down. You know, definitely made an impact. But
by the city or by the police?
Well, no, like, I don't think the club was able to survive it. Like, people were afraid to go, you know.
That makes sense, and they have bills to pay, and if they can't keep up with those because no one's visiting, then yeah. So there wasn't a safe place. People started going to, like, we'd host them at, like, houses and stuff, you know, until, you know, later on when the gay clubs started to exist. Yeah. So is that part of the reason you came to Austin, is because you felt like it would be, is this a relatively good place for people within our community to come, or?
Yeah, but that's not why I came to Austin, actually. I was married to a 3-Corps military commander, and I loved him because how powerful he was, mostly, right? And he was attracted to power. But with that, you know, with that said, he was going on tour to South Carolina and some other places to teach at university. So he got that opportunity for 6 months. And I'm like, well, he's like, you got to come with me. And I'm like, oh, no, I just started my job at Samsung at that time. And I'm like, no, I think I'm going to move to Austin. And I'm like, we can, you know, sync up and see where you're at after. Like, I want to make sure wherever you're moving has a good tech presence, because I really like working in tech. So I ended up moving to the Domain. Mistake, don't move to the Domain if you're looking to move to Austin. It's super hard to get in and out of. Yeah, I was like, this would be so cool to live in the mall. It's just a bunch of married guys that are just chest photos on Grindr. Really hard to make gay friends. But I came there, and then, you know, my partner got stationed in San Antonio. And we were looking at places in San Marcos, which was in the middle. By that time, I got recruited to Google. A dream job for most people. Dream job for me, honestly. And I was just exhilarated. And my partner had, you know, pretty much demeaned me on, like, that his career was more, you know, important than mine, because he was essential staff. He's G1. So he is quite important, you know, I agree. But he's like, you need to live in San Antonio and, you know, make the drive. Like, your job doesn't matter. Actually, you shouldn't work at all. You know, like, you should support me like all the other military wives do, you know. And I was like, I just don't agree with that, because I'm a person, and, like, I told myself as I left my family and everyone else that, like, I wasn't going to let anyone control me. So I was like, you know what, I'm already settled. You know, Austin was awesome, you know. So I was like, I'm just going to stay here. Let's just call it a quits.
Yeah. That's so funny. Funny's the wrong word. I don't even know what word to use, but for someone to say, like, to try to dictate how you're going to spend your time, that's a very interesting concept to me, because I I guess to me that's so foreign because I'm the opposite. Whoever I end up dating and marrying one day, I want them to have their own life. I want them to have their own goals and their vision. And I mean, if they want to be at home all day taking care of 30 dogs, then fine. We'll move. We'll get a ranch. We'll get a bunch of dogs, and they can take care of our kids. You know. But I definitely like that's very interesting to me. So how old were you when you guys got married?
20. Yeah. So we got married in Seattle because gay marriage wasn't legal yet in Texas. So we flew to Seattle. Which my partner really like. My partner was kind of shitty, you know. Honestly, I guess I didn't like know what to expect. But I don't know if you know everything after 9 in Seattle turns into a bar, so you couldn't even go to a pizzeria. So we got married at the Space Needle, which was really cool. But and I was like, that's nice. But after we couldn't go anywhere, and they like just made me feel bad for it, you know.
Yeah.
But it was just a small group, but we were like, you know, toured out, being one of the first like gay military officer couples. So I got to meet some really cool generals and majors and some really powerful people. So I like that. And they actually would start to invite me to parties without him. They're like, because they're like, you're such an icebreaker. Like I'm like trying to bring Cards Against Humanity to like a very formal party, you know. And they're like, that's like so funny, right? Because these guys are just like so dry, and they're like, they're like,
good for you for
like,
lightening it up.
They loved it.
Yeah.
We had this like African American 3-star major general, and he was just like really tough guy, and everyone was afraid of him. And I just thought it was cool as shit. You know, I was like, I'm gonna break him, you know? And I was like, and I just don't know how to hold myself sometimes. So he was like walking in and we're talking to him. I was like, hey, when's the last time you had sex with your wife? You know, like, and totally off the wall.
What was the look on his face? I was like,
intrusive thoughts, oh my God. The look on it, my face was just like, so yeah, but everyone else's face is like, oh my God, what did he just? Dead quiet in the room, like everybody heard me, and he's like, and he laughed, you know, he thought that was funny. He's like, you're a funny guy, you know, like they're like, all right, this guy's he's not so bad, you know.
Are you still in touch with any of your friends from those circles, or not so much anymore?
Yeah, actually,
that's good.
Yeah, I actually think I'm better friends with them than my ex-partner is, funny enough. Yeah.
Why do you think you made the decision to get married at 20? Was it again back to the power, just at that age and that point of your life? It was just like, how could I say no sort of thing?
No, not at all. So there really is no benefit of getting married as in an officer's relationship, because like there's not a big money change or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
It's already have benefits, I have a job. But for me, it was like the right thing to do. Like we're in a relationship. My partner actually wasn't out yet, and he came out when we got married. And he represented the HR part of the military, right? You're G1. Like people look up to you. You're an officer. And I was like, and also myself, I was like, we needed to make this change and make people, we want to be a part of the movement, right?
Yeah.
So this is why we got married. You know, like most military couples get married really quick because there's a big financial, means that increase.
Yes.
Yeah, or they don't have to live on post. We didn't have to live on post. We already have that money. It didn't really impact us at all. But I just thought it was important for us to make that stance, as they're, allowing this to happen.
What does G1 mean?
So it's the HR part of the military. So there's like S1, which is like smaller groups of like companies, and then there is like the base level. So it's 3 Corps. So 3 Corps like runs the entire base of Fort Hood. I don't know what they changed the name to recently, but so that they're running the entire HR presence. So he worked for the general that controls the base,
gotcha.
Right? And makes all the rules and whatever. So very, very powerful position. He has his whole staff, but they're doing like, I guess like if there's anybody that's getting like Article 15, so that means they're getting kicked out, or any problems or whatever, it's all going to circumvent through him and his teams.
Gotcha. Let's go back for a second. So you emancipated at 16?
Yeah.
You said? So at 16, you tested out of high school, so you did get your high school diploma, or no?
I did get my high school diploma from CTC, Central Texas College, actually. So I was able to get it there, testing out, which is a different experience than I expected, but it has a higher value that way.
So 16, 17, 18, what were you up to?
So I'll be completely honest, like when I was like 17, I was working at Regal Cinemas, which, or Hollywood Theaters at the time. It's owned by Regal Cinemas now. And I was, just like just a manager there, and I wanted to be a GM. And the guy that was the GM there, he was moving to Florida, and he's like, Matticus, like, how old are you? Like he knew, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, I'm 17. And he's like, no, but like if you wanted to be a GM, like how old would you be, you know? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm 18, you know? Like, yeah, I'm 18.
Hint, wink, wink.
Yeah, I'm 18. And that did catch me later on, you know, IRS got me for that one. But, you know, like, yeah, so I was like, yeah, I'm 18. I got promoted up. I ended up becoming an implementation manager, so which was a really fun way to get into tech as I was going to school. But I'm sure you guys, if you've gone to the movie theater, and you're like, hey, can I get an extra, you know, a bag or a bucket or, you know, a cup? And they're like, no. You know, like that was because of this inventory process. So each thing is considered a like inventory value. Mm-hmm. So that cup is worth $5, right? So if it's missing, so I did that. So like it helped like change the way that they were doing things. They used a spreadsheet, a lot of like broken macros, and like tested it there. Then I got to launch it at a bunch of other theaters. I went to one out in early Texas and found, you know, problems with embezzlement, and then it just like went off from there. They're like, we want this guy everywhere, checking everybody. So it was really fun. And I'm like, oh, coming through, guys, you know, in my black SUV, like, here we go. Like, yeah, coming in dressed up real nice, you know.
At 17?
No, yeah, well, I started at 17. By this time, I was like 18. Okay. But I dropped out of high school because I was like, I can't balance the schedule.
Of working in school.
Yeah, and the facade, you know, of what I was trying to be. So I was like, I have to choose, you know, like, and my mentor, this guy, like, you know, helped me make that decision. He's like, you're a smart guy, you'll figure it out. And and on top of that, not only did I want to elevate myself, but like it's expensive to live, you know, and go to school. And I had to make the decision. I mean, I was working here and two other places, working at American Eagle and JCPenney's all at the same time, and going to school. Like, how is that possible?
Right.
I ask myself that all the time. You know, like no social life.
How is that possible? Man?
Yeah, it was really hard. You know. And they're like, you're supposed to be here today. You're like, oh my god, the schedules are overlapped. You know, like I was like, I told you I put that day off. I don't know. But you know, it worked out. So I was able to kind of like stream down to having one role and not working across these 3 different jobs. And you know, but that was like by that time I was made it to 18. But when I got that manager role, I was 17. You know, and I don't think anybody knows that was like working with me at the time. And then I started learning, like, as I was like progressing in my career, especially when I worked for like 911 and stuff. That like when I went into tech, I was like, hey, I'm actually going to say I'm a little older. The people that I'm working with, and the respect level is just so much different, you know. So I mean, I'm sure I turned 21 like, I don't know, 7 times now. I was kidding. You know, 3 times. Like, it's your 21st birthday again. I'm like, I know. It's super cool. Like, when I go to the bar, I'm like, well, I don't really like to drink, you know. Like, I'm not a. So, but it all worked out. In the end.
What was it that the IRS got you on?
Oh, just like, it was stupid. Just like my age was wrong. That was reporting incorrectly. So like you have like you know.
Did you put 18 on your tax return when you were?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Well, they file it for you. You know, like your company does. You know, like at your level. So I think you're taxed maybe a different rate for like, you know, being an adult and then not an adult. But I don't know. But I was like, it was very minute. You know, it's not really that big of an issue. I was like, oh, easy. We could easily take care of this, no problem. But yeah, I thought I would be, you know, much worse, or that I'd get in trouble, and I really never did. And I think it's, you know, it's out of the, what's it called, like when you're out of the time where you can get in trouble. You can't get me now, guys. We're way over.
Like not probationary period.
Yeah, no. There's a word for it. The statute of limitations. I'm like, we're outside of that, buddy. So don't be trying me right now.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
So when did you leave you were going to school, college, and working at the theater at the same time, and then when you got your degree, is that when you left the theater?
No, actually, so I left the theater, actually got fired for being gay, and
shut the front
yeah, isn't that
door.
crazy? Yeah, somebody, one of the regionals came down and was visiting, and somebody had told him that I was gay. It's a very religious company, and they'd called me in and they're like, give me your keys. I was like, what? This is insane. But I was able to get like a job, like literally in the same parking lot, to hold me over until I went to this other company for like, you know, 5-6 months at Chili's. So, and I know we don't know each other that well, but I'm like very dry humor, and I killed it. You know, like I was a really great server. And I was like, this is great. You know, they're like, you're doing so good here because you're so mean. You know, like. They're like, can I get a refill? I'm like, no. Like,
why wouldn't you give the people a refill?
Oh, I would. But I was just so sassy.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, flirting all the time, getting room keys from girls and stuff. And I'm like, this is crazy. You know, I'm not going in your room.
I'm not going to come over, but it makes for a fun story.
Thank you. Yeah, you can tip me more. Like,
give me something that matters.
Exactly.
Something I can use.
Yeah, don't pay me with compliments. Pay me with your money.
Yeah. So you did nothing but good things for the theater, and then it sounds like I mean, they
Yeah.
had you lie about your age because they wanted to promote you, and then a regional manager finds out you're gay, and for that alone. See
Yeah, yeah, it sucked.
and was that in Texas or what state were you
Yeah,
in?
yes, that was in
Texas.
Killeen in Texas. Yeah, it really did suck. There was actually to go along with it. There was an investigation because like one of these female managers, she had slapped me in the face like in the manager's office, and I had reported that. So like they came down and they're like, hey, we're gonna let you go too. And we found out that you're gay. So I was like, I actually like went to Dallas and tried to open a lawsuit and everything. And they're like, you're not protected, unfortunately. Gay is not, it's not a protected right. So that didn't go anywhere either.
I should know this, and I feel bad that I don't. But if that happened today, is it different?
I think. Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. But at that time, you could be fired from your job for being gay. It was legal. You could also be evicted from your home for being gay. I don't think they could do that anymore.
Gotcha.
Just that for that reason alone.
Right.
Yeah, it is an at-will state, Texas. But I was like, but if you have a reason, better be a good reason.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get sued.
I love the frankness of that.
Yeah.
You're gonna get litigated against.
That's right.
So you get a job at Chili's. How old were you when you graduated college?
I wish that I drew this out. I don't even know. 2015 is when I finished my my bachelor's. There's a little bit of gaps. He's like, yeah, let me look up the dates.
I should have had. I was thinking about pulling this up. I should have got it before you got here, but we can fix that now real quick.
Yeah, I was like, I've been working so much that there's a lot of dates going on.
List all 14 schools that you went to now. Go. I'm kidding.
I was like, what do we got?
All right, so it looks like you graduated from Cornell Johnson Graduate School of Management with your Master of Professional Studies, Business Administration and Management General in 2017.
Right, yeah.
And then Texas A&M University with your Bachelor's in Business Management Marketing and Related Support Services in 2015.
Yeah, and I'll be fair, so the Cornell one is online Cornell, so it is not as prestigious as the one in New York, but, it's still really great. But yeah. But no, I went to CDC before that. I did take off my community college because I felt like it was hurting me, even though it's like a part of my story of like, going to community college and then transferring over, but I was like, no, it's better. Looks better. Just a bachelor's, master's.
I think you should put everything that you told me, put it on your LinkedIn. The About Me section, it's just about your parents, the abuse, the mustard, all of it. Put it on there, bro.
No, absolutely.
No, do not do that.
No. I definitely use these to my advantage. They've gotten me through doors. Like when Google that dream job that I wanted. My favorite job of all time thus far. It was in the interview room, and I could tell there was just one guy in there. I just couldn't win him over. His name's John. And John, thank you for
shout out, John.
John, thank you for helping me get into Google. I appreciate it. But I was like, I got to break him. And they're like, what would you do differently? So when I was coming for this job, it was for a confidential project called Ground Truth, where they're doing like BLE technology and tracking people and whatever for maps, for geo operations. And I'd, been working all this data, obviously from the theater and 911 and whatever else, and Samsung. But they're like, what would you do differently? And I was like, hey, you guys ever seen that show like Undercover Boss before? And they're like, yeah, of course. I was like, how that kind of works? Like somebody goes in and they see what's going on from the inside out. I was like, that's what I would want to do. So I was like, if you guys let me travel to these teams as an individual that just started on a basic tech level or an associate level, and just let them teams train me as if I'm new, I'm going to be able to bring you back so much data. So much back is all this intel. And I pitched them on that, and they accepted that. So I went for 3 months. I traveled everywhere, meeting all these teams as a brand new person. I'm like, hey, what's up? My name is Matticus. I'm new here, and they're teaching the ropes. They're like, this is how you beat this system. This is how you fake this. This is how you do blah. And then what I was able to easily identify as the people that were obviously doing things that were wrong. I was like, okay, cool, we're going to trim them out. I was able to find people that were really great leaders that were not being recognized because managers were blocking them, right? So get rid of those managers, move these other people up to managers, and then, but also improve the efficiency of the entire team. So, we had some training things, like the different regions were trained differently how to do things. And it was just one thing they're doing wrong would create bad data. So it's really important that it's in 3 mappers to the same location and it all had to match. But if they're doing something just slightly different, they have to keep sending people, and they just couldn't figure it out. but they're also sending people all over the world at once. My thing was like, and I actually ended up putting a lot of people out of work because of this. Not my fault. But I was like, hey, rather than like just send people all over the place and displace them, let's send the team out all at once. So we have a team of 219 people. I'm gonna send you all to Dallas, right? We're gonna work you left to right. And I don't know if you've ever seen a red pin on the map before, but most of those red pins have been verified by a mapping agent in person, right?
Gotcha.
And it's really important, especially if they're paying Google to be on there. We want to make sure it's perfect. So they're going in and they're carrying all these phones that are coming out, different providers, and it's very cognito. And they're going in and you know, checking these locations, standing inside the store, so they could tell the difference between if you go to a mall and you're going your hot topic customer, get ready to Victoria's Secret, or you're in the corridor, you know, going to the restroom. You know, that there's poor signals there. So I'm sure if you ever zoomed into a map, you'll see that they're all drawn out now.
Yeah.
And that's what my team was doing, and it was really, really sophisticated. And we do that so we know how to, you know, we know what kind of customer you are.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, really, really cool. But you know, we clean those maps out so fast with this new way, because before it was costing over like $17, you know, per pin, and my new way was like $2.50 per pin, you know, to be. They're like, but the team didn't like the ambiguity, so we ended up like we call it the Red Day. Let the whole team go, you know, hired a new team, placed them in LA, and I ended up. I don't know. I just took it to heart a little bit. I ended up going and working with Meta a little bit on their launch. I never went back to Google. They wanted me to go to LA, which I regret every day not going to LA, because I was like, there's no way I can afford to live there.
Right.
You know, but I think I could have made it.
Yeah. So is that why you left Google? Because they wanted to relocate you and you were just so comfortable here, it didn't make it didn't make sense at the time?
Absolutely. So I was doing really good. Honestly, I was doing really good. I was like, right, you know, I was going through my divorce, so I felt like really independent. And I, you know, had 3 cars, and I thought I had everything. I was like, well, I'm going to put all my cars. Like, what am I going to do? You know, like I was living on, like, living at Emily South Shore. You know, like I was like, you guys have room for my cars here? Like nobody downtown would take them all. I was like, yeah, felt like, yeah, I was like, you know, I felt like a baller, bro. You know, I was like, I don't even know. But yeah, so I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it there. I heard like horror stories. People are just struggling, but I guess like those people are trying to be actors and stuff. But this would have been, I guess, a good opportunity. I should have just like went. But, you know, change, you know, scares you. Austin at that time had been the longest place I lived anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's definitely been the
found
longest place. Yeah. I love it here. This has always now been my home base. I was living in between here and LA, you know, here recently actually, but I'm like, Austin's it, dude. Like, I know everybody. It's really cool. And it's kind of feel like you have a little family here.
Yeah. I love that for you. So did you even get the job that you interviewed for, or based off the answers that you gave them in the interview, did they completely change the position that they were?
Oh yeah. So that's funny you asked that. So I was interviewing for like a supervisor role, and I ended up getting a manager role. So I definitely, you know, excelled, what they wanted from me. But I like, especially when I went out into the field and like proved it more, like this guy, killing it. I'm like, humble brag, but I'm like, yeah, I know, right? I was like, yeah. But they were bringing me into projects that had nothing to do with me. They're like, dude, we just want to get your feedback. Just can we run this past you? And I was like, this is so fun, you know, like. And then people like, that's whenever my age stopped mattering, you know, because like Google just wants your knowledge, you know, and they just trust you. Nobody's asking how old you are. Like all these guys are, you know, Ivy League grads and stuff, and you know. My first day I walked in, this girl's wearing a Stanford shirt. I'm like, oh my God, I saw that shirt at Target. And she's like, I went here. You know, I'm like, I was like, oh yeah, my bad. You know, that's embarrassing.
Wrong thing to
you know,
say.
my bad.
On first impressions, I don't know you. But.
Yeah, but you know, but they really appreciated the knowledge. That's why it was so fun, and I loved traveling. I did get depressed a little bit because I wasn't really allowed to like, you know, be friends with anybody. You know, so that was tough. You're like, I was on my own
because of your title.
Yeah, because of my role. Like, it's really important that I kept that distance,
right? So
that I can, make decisions.
That seems like it'd be rough for you based off your personality and.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I would make friends like in the general public, So I have friends all over the world now.
Yeah.
Just from visiting. Or, like, I'd go out on the weekend and like, all right, I would meet some people.
Yeah.
And I've also made friends that like tried to abuse me because they knew what I was doing, and they were on podcasts too, Nathan. And
shout out Nathan.
And Nathan. And they were trying to like, get details and data for me so they could like talk about it. I was like, you traitor. But yeah, no, it took me some time to like figure out how to be on my own. I ended up getting like into photography and like, to be able to kind of go out. But I loved it. I missed that job. I missed what we were doing because I felt like we were changing the world. And then, you know, like I kind of like kept on that. All my careers have kind of been like data focused, and you know, from there.
Have you ever considered going back, or is it just behind you at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have considered going back, but it's kind of like
what was that hesitation?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like I would love to go back, but I feel like it's changed so much. Like the focus, right when I was leaving, the budgets were kind of shifting to Google Cloud. So like I lost a huge part of my budget. You know, like obviously we're sizing down the team. You get changes. We're changing the pay grades of people. You know, they're making too much. So like, okay, you're gonna make it ridiculous. I'm just saying, you know, like, I'm not the nicest guy. I get it.
No, you're kicking my table.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, yeah, maybe. But I think there was other places I've worked. You know, after there, I got to work at you know, at Apple, which I thought would be sick. It is not. For anybody that works at Apple, I'm sorry. And I'm just kidding, because I might actually want to work at Apple again. But this is what I was working for the Adecco Group. So I was managing their workforce program. So I worked with a lot of, you know, contingent labor when I was at Google, and I was able to kind of like step into that role. But the problem was the pay was just so low. So I didn't really make it, you know, that long. I did like education services, which is the guys who do the Scantrons for the testing. Terrible. And these guys, we worked with Waymo, the self-driving vehicles, you know, all those guys staffing these contingent labor. But it was super hard to survive on that pay. But I was like, all right, I'm going to grow here. And then I was like, all right, cool. I got this sick job at Sprinkler. And
is that sarcasm I hear in your
voice?
No,
it was really cool. It was really cool. Like I came in and they offered me a pretty low base salary, but they're like, dude, it's all commission, right? And I feel like I killed it. You know, like I made so much freaking money there. Like, you know, working in SaaS sales.
Yeah.
So, you know, managing these teams, the SDRs and account reps. You know, I ended up first I was working for like the SDR team. Then I was working for GradCon. So he's actually the old CMO of Microsoft. So he became the CMO over at Sprinkler. And then I was working for the old CIO of the United States for Obama. So it was so cool. Like this company was really, really sick. But it was like all events. We had so much spending power. You know, like I could send you a car if I needed to. You know, like if it was going to be a gift to get you to sign for this product. You know. But you know, that's where we started like doing the videos. And I was working with these two other girls. We kind of got put on a side project, and you know, sending people like all kinds of cool gifts, handwritten things. And our conversions were just high. I went to South by on my own dollar. You know, like
that's not cheap.
It wasn't, but I like tricked it. I got my, you know, my EDU badge and then got it upgraded or whatever. And then, but I was able to get like 16 SQLs out of that. So like 16 sales was really high. I was like, do you know how much, I was like, reported that back to corporate. I was like, look at the money that I generated from this. Cause I went to these sessions, I was tweeting people in real live time. And I'm like meeting them, shaking their hands. I'm like, I would love to talk to you about this, you know? And they're like, I'll give you the time. I'm glad you came here. And I'm like, great. I want you to meet GradCon. You know, he's over here, come to our installation or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool job. But I thought I was like a real badass, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna leave and go work for this company as chief of staff, it was fun. It was fun. You know, I'm sure. Have you ever heard of like vampire facial before?
No.
So vampire facial, Kardashians get it, and so we're working with a doctor, his name Dr. Reynolds, and he does that vampire facial P shot, O shot. Stem cell harvesting and stuff like that. So I worked with a different physician that manages a physician training school here in Austin, and helped her build out that business. So quite large, and it was, you know, doing really well. And you know, we took her through COVID, and it was, you know, really, really fun experience. But it's kind of hard to work with a physician because like they want to run everything. But yeah, and then I kind of like went on a gap period. I like created like a sex toy company, distributing company called Rex and Me, and with one of the partners I was working on with marketing was working in drag, and I was like, this same concept we can use in this drag. So Rex and Me, I originally launched because like so many people were moving to OnlyFans, right? But a lot of people were posting on like the toys and stuff with Amazon links, like, hey, this is the toy I'm using, blah blah blah. But they weren't making money from that. They weren't paying money on, you know, on sex toys at that time. I think they do now. But I was like, cool, you can have like affiliates page here where you can send people to it. Any product they did buy, like you'll make money from it. You know, so signing up these people, bringing in like additional line of revenue for those performers, and was able to take that and replicate it into what's called Booth and Stager, where we have a booth presence. So we're the booth and you are the stager, you're the performer, and we're pretty much becoming your booth virtually. So we do print to ship. So like any type of merch you can think of, or if it's already made, like we'll ship it, distribute it for you. But it's really cool because there's a lot of people that are trying to, they do a lot of bulk printing and they can't sell it. They're like, I got all these sizes, they end up losing money. This is cool. It comes branded. They get really nice, bellet canvas, quality products. It actually costs less than it does to screen print, and you have way more color options. And that was, really fun. I'm now expanding that business, to allow like OnlyFans people on there to have their merch. It's not listed the same way, but yeah, that's my big business right now.
So that was what you were basically up to from late 2020 to mid 2021-ish?
Well, yeah. So, and then I kind of dropped back. I got recruited to work at Indeed, if you see there, and then I kind of moved back. But I got laid off from Indeed, obviously. But at Indeed, I was recruited to be an expansion manager. I'd worked with agencies before, so like Indeed Flex is a business that was acquired by Indeed, and they do like staffing, temporary staffing, gig work, right? And they're like, oh, do really well in this to kind of help with our partner agencies. So I took that head of partner agencies role, and then ended up getting placed back into expansion, where I was able to really excel. We got close to like really merging these companies together, and then they kind of laid off the whole team that I was working with.
Why?
Recently? Well, because like there's three, so there's three companies that are coming close together, right? And then so you don't need all three, So
Gotcha.
They make a decision, and then doing a role like what I'm doing is really, sometimes it grinds a little bit of people's gears. I'm blocking projects that might not be ready to be distributed to the general public, and I'm doing that to protect the company. And there's only so much I'm allowed to say at this point, but sometimes that can really grind people's gears. Or like bringing people closer together. Like, hey, I know you guys don't want to work with HR, but guess what? We're going to work with HR. And they're like, well, who the hell is this guy? Well,
I'm Matticus Rex.
This is my job. I'm here to help you guys. So you don't get in trouble. But yeah, I definitely it put some light on me. There was some restructures towards the end, and then it kind of like put me and my new manager really close to the same level. So I was like, my HR manager, she's like, you got a target on your back, bro. Yeah, I was like, so at that point I was like, all right. And then the layoffs came. I was like, cool, now I'm gonna get paid to get laid off instead of just straight targeted. So it worked out. And I honestly have just been, increasing the business for Booth and Stager. I did get an initial offer from a really great developer staffing firm based out of Australia. But that was rescinded on the day of the announcement, unfortunately.
Remind me why they rescinded it. I know you told me over text. I apologize. I didn't acknowledge that.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So there was, I guess, some issues with one of the guys one of the C-suiters that worked here in Austin. I guess they had they had changed the way he was being paid, and he wasn't very happy. But he had put in his notice in that same week. And they're like, hey, this is so disruptive for us. We don't know if we're prepared to take on another C-suiter. They haven't had a new C-suiter in 10 years. So it was a really great company, rapid growth. I wish them the very best. It was really great to meet them all. The founder had reached out to me directly. A really great experience. It was unfortunate it didn't work out. It would have been, a great role. But yeah, I definitely understand. It's tough to take on someone new, especially for high growth, was what they wanted to grow real quick. And I had some, really great plans for them. And they're like, we really like this. We didn't think about this. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I would bring for you. But maybe for some of the other C-suiters, they liked the way that the company was running. And I think that as I was giving them these ideas, they're like, well, what if he doesn't keep the brand's, history, as a part of the growth? And I was like, well, of course, the first thing I would do coming on is to learn everything that you guys are doing to make sure that, we keep that there. I wouldn't want to change who the company is.
Right. Booth and Stager, that's not getting into specific numbers, but does that generate enough revenue that you could live on that or even grow it? Or is it more of a sort of just this, I don't want to diminish it and say for fun, I'm not trying to knock it, but
oh yeah, for sure.
Is it generating a good amount of revenue or not enough that you could live on it?
It depends on what you can live on. No,
we got this guy expanding his car collection over here, so might want to do tattoos and yeah.
I could probably buy another Porsche with it. But Yeah, it does okay. The thing is that I definitely want to expand it more. It's more about like, obviously quantity. We're always improving the operations and like on how it works. Like I wanted to make it like really fun for people to engage with, especially that are on the affiliate side, so they can see like who purchased from them, they can thank them and so more, and so forth. But it does do okay. I have thought about like, should I shut it down? Should I keep growing it? I was like, I think there's an opportunity on expanding it because like we're really focused on one demographic, and I was like, if we just grow it past that, it could do a lot better.
Yeah.
But the things that get me are like cost factors on like manufacturing, supplying. So if those are things that I wanted to do in house, then it can, revenues can go up a lot more. I did also want to kind of like change the how much the affiliates were making because like as we're moving away from COVID. People want things in their hands immediately,
right?
So that like that's a hard thing to get around.
Dude, I just ordered a new tank for the gym. Like, what a meaningless piece of clothing. Like, it's just something I'm going to sweat in. And when I saw that the cheapest shipping option, because I'm so cheap with shipping, so I'm not going to expedite a tank top. But the free one, or the one that was cheapest, was 2 weeks. I was like, 2 fucking weeks?
Yeah.
That's forever. I'll be dead in 2 weeks, So I totally get what you mean that people, they want that stuff quick. And the convenience of ordering online is super cool. But also, we're in such a delayed gratification environment right now that I could see that for someone like you who's trying to run a business, that could be an issue.
Well, I think Amazon's killing everybody that's working small business, especially with shipping. But luckily Amazon's kind of falling back, so it's kind of like changing.
Sorry, Amazon.
I'm
not sorry.
we're not actually making our 2-day shipping anymore. Like we're sorry. So that helps. But yeah, we do. The shipping price hurts. But I want to find like other ways to make it more affordable. Because like these providers using the shipping can be expensive.
Yeah.
And so. I think if we're shipping from ourselves, it'd be a lot less. But always strategizing more ideas. I have actually like other companies that I'm trying to launch right now. 2 other ones I'm working on, but I can't talk about them yet.
Sure.
But always coming up with like more ideas, and always pitching people. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this idea?
Yeah.
What do you think about? I think for any entrepreneur, like that you just got to keep trying. And I think with my last boss told me, I actually have it recorded. During my layoff, he's like, you really need to run your own company. I was like, the thing is like people will continue to feel threatened by you, and I get that, but I have so much drive and I want such a large scope in a company, which helps me like obviously help that company, but I think they're right, but I just haven't found that right position yet, or that company.
I needed to pause and summarize where we're at for a second. In the last hour and 10 minutes, we have figured out that you went from being taken away from your family for the first time at 4 years old, having 5 sisters, right? 6 siblings total, and with with 5 different dads, abusive fathers, in and out of 14 schools, in and out of different shelters, emancipated at 16, and then you got fired for being gay. As your job as a software implementation manager, and then you were a corporate communications and CAD administrator, a regional manager of marketing, a senior program manager, that was when you were with Google, a regional service delivery manager, a senior global enterprise relationship manager, chief of staff, head of partnerships within the US, head of expansion PMO global. You run your own company, and on top of all of that, you seem like you're confident, you're happy, like, who the fuck are you? Like, this is incredible, man. Like, I'm so happy for you in that through everything, you have a million excuses of why you could be playing a victim and blaming the world for all of your problems, but you're not. Where does this? Do you think the drive comes from your childhood being the way it was? You were just determined that, like, no, there can be a good life, but it's going to take a lot of, like, where does this drive come from? Because I'm sitting here, I'm a little dumbfounded at who you are.
Yeah, I think that's definitely where the imposter syndrome sits, kind of like falls in place. But the drive is just like, I'm just so rigorous. Like, I don't want to feel the way that I did before. And the thing is, like, when I keep setting those levels of, like, what's the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, rather than, like, people like, this is the lowest it gets, like, I set a new low, and it's going to be higher, and I never want to hit that low again. And I'm like, all right, this is my new low now, and I'm just climbing and climbing, and you keep falling back down, like, but I want so much. And I'll be honest with you, I've never been happy. I've never been happy with what I have. I always want more. It doesn't matter what role I have, what I'm in. I'm like, how can I achieve the next level? What can I do to get to the next place? I don't know how to get to that point. And that's maybe like why I think like, running my own company can get me there. But I want to be able to, make impact, make change. These companies that I work with are making large changes in the world, right? Every one of them have a story that I want to be a part of. Like my most recent one, Indie, like they're putting people to work. I love that, sprinklers helping people connect with their brands, and and same thing with Google, and that's exciting. But I don't know. I remember like going from my first, sleeping on the floor when I was working at this movie theater. Had a futon mattress, and it was like sharing the room with another girl and another couple, and there was a girl with a baby in the living room. It's so overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
And I was like going from there and making like like $500-$400 every 2 weeks to what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. It blows I almost forget who I was.
Right.
But like sometimes I have to remind myself. I don't know. Like I will never be in that position again. I will never let that happen. I've networked too hard. I've tried too much. And I think it's made me the better, I guess.
It's so funny, man, because call me crazy, but I meet people like yourself on this podcast, and it almost makes me wish I had a shittier childhood. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
no, I don't.
yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
But like you hear stories like that, where like I don't think I'm not driven, but I look at what I've done and wonder like if life had been a little worse, would that have somehow catapulted my own work ethic or whatnot? It's sort of a crazy thought, but just one that I've had.
Yeah.
Do you think, or go ahead and say
well, that's it just makes me think about something that I think like never like try to compare yourself to someone else. Like that's never gonna get you anywhere. I think that a lot of people say my trauma doesn't equate to yours, and I disagree. Like you could learn the same life lessons that I did through something else.
Right.
And I definitely believe that, like you could have had a really great childhood. You could have been helped in a different way, but maybe you didn't get the car you wanted. You could have learned the same lesson, believe it or not, like, cause that might be your worst. My worst is different, but if you're feeling that impact, it could still make that same change for you. So I think it's there. I see a lot of people that are really successful. It's just depending on what they do with it, how they motivate themselves. I tell myself, and I tell my friends, I was like, we are a computer, we're designed. We can, if you want to be something, tell yourself, you'll believe it. Like if you tell yourself you're nothing, you will be nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
If you tell yourself that you love yourself, that you're beautiful and you're amazing every single day, you're going to start to damn well believe yourself. I can promise you. Look in that mirror. I saw your mirror. Look in your mirror. Tell yourself how much you love yourself and what you're going to do, and like set your goals. And it's totally possible. And that's what I have to do. I have to tell myself that I love myself because I'm by myself, and nobody else is going to help you through the life. Everybody dies alone, unfortunately.
Yeah. Going back to what you said a second ago. So like in general, like let's just take this moment here right now. Are you happy, or do you feel like you're always sort of at this level of discontentment for the most part?
I love chaos. So, yeah, it's crazy, right? Yeah, I would prefer chaos. When I come into companies, that's why I've moved so many companies, I think, because I get bored.
Interesting.
Like as soon as things get streamed out, I'm like, what do we even do here? Like, this is boring. They're like, just relax, hang out. I'm like, no. I want more fires to put out,
Right.
But no, I'm bored, honestly, like right now. But I'm also like not as motivated as I would like to be. Like I feel like I'm in good spirits. Everybody sees me like, you seem like you're doing really great. You're living a great life. Like, yeah, sure, I'm financially stable and like I have all the things that most people would want, but I'm not happy. Like I just recently went through, a breakup, but I don't want to date anybody. And I'm sure a lot of people can, understand that part. And, but the thing is, like, as much as I achieve, like, I want to share it with somebody. Like, that's been my goal. I want the family. I want the life.
Yeah.
I want the kids, Yeah, so I don't feel like I'm there. And I'm working to continue to achieve that. But I think initially when I was outcast from my family, I was so blinded by like trying to take everything and be the best that I could to shove it in their face and like look at what I've become, that I wasn't paying attention to loving myself, and that's like the most important thing, like really being in the moment, spending time with the people around you. Like I've gone through friends so often, like if someone's not clicking with me or someone doesn't fit like the goal that I want, they're out, and I regret that.
Do you think that's an unhealthy way to build relationships?
I think it is unhealthy, but I think I'm so used to it from moving around so much. It's easy to reset. You know, I'm like, okay, cool. You have problems with me or whatever. But being in Austin, it's been a really great experience because I came in really hot. Really hot. It's like, and it was not good, you know, like, because I've, again, that dry personality, and people are like, that guy is terrible, you know, or he's really great. It was like one or the other. And then now people like come around, they're like Matticus, like getting to know you, like you're really great, you're really awesome. And I was like, it's so awesome to hear that, you know, like that we're able to finally get to this point. And unfortunate, like the trauma that we had to experience together on the hatred, you know. But I was like, I hold no grudges against anybody. As soon as we're ready to come back around, I'm like, no problem, dude. Like literally this week, this guy we were having a tisk or whatever, he's like making my life hell. And I'm like, hey man, like, I saw him at an after party. I'm like, I don't know what's going on between us. I don't think it really matters unless you want to talk about it. But like, I think we should be good. You know, like if you're good to be good, I'm good to be good. You know. And then I saw him last night, gives me a hug, smiles, you know, and it was a good night. You know, I think that's what's important. Like it's like slowly knocking out all these like hardships you have, because it like that bears a lot of weight on you to hold grudges, right?
Yeah.
Or
yes. It's a terrible weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you formally come out, or did people just sort of know through what you'd say, who you were dating? Was there any kind of moment?
No, I formally came out, and that's actually like where I fell in love with Austin, because like when I thought I was moving to Texas, I was like I have to learn how to ride horses. There's gonna be all these trucks and saloons. Like I just knew it was like on TV, you know, like
right.
It was so different. I was like, well, there's like regular buildings here. I haven't seen one pair of saloon doors. Right. You know, unfortunately,
no one's wearing boots.
Yeah, well, not as much as you expect.
No.
But no, I was living in Killeen, Fort Hood, and I'd come to Austin for Pride, and it was so cool to like see like how diverse the gay population was. I always thought, and I think like my family as well as people around me, the churches, always made me think of like, you're gonna be gay, like you're gonna be a drag queen, you know, or you're trans or something like that, which is totally okay. You know, like I'm totally okay. I love all my pieces of parts of the community, but like that wasn't me. I didn't feel that, so I was like, there's something not right, you know. But like coming to Pride, I just knew it. I was like, there's everyone here, you know? And that was like, it just makes me emotional. It was so great. You know, it was like my, friends had invited me here. We drove up together, and it was like literally that day I came out to the world. You know, I was like, this is me. I'm one of them.
Was there any time that you were, that you felt like you needed to hide that you were gay?
Yes. Well, in my career, all the time. Yeah.
Same here.
Very private about it.
Yeah.
Private, yeah.
You, to this day?
No, not now. I think like, all the way up until like Google.
Yeah.
Even at like halfway through Google, I was very private about it.
Yeah.
Because like my mentor at Google was also like not openly gay, so that made me feel like if he was succeeding, and I was like, I needed to follow that direction.
Yeah, it's something that terrified me, if I'm being honest. A couple weeks ago, I work for a company. We have a global presence, 4,000 plus employees, but the people that are running this company are straight white men, if I'm just going to call a spade for the most part. We have a few women in leadership. We do, one of our leaders is gay, which is great. But they had for Pride Month, they wanted to have a panel about, we talked about, basically we just had 3 people talking about Pride and what it meant to them, and I'm just sort of drawing a blank right now at the moment. But they needed someone to moderate it, and no one was raising their hand to do so. So I was like,
all right, yeah,
I'll do it. And it was the first time, we had about 700 people on that call, and I don't know who was on it because I wanted just to focus on the discussion, and I knew that would distract me.
For sure.
But it was scary, man, because I don't know what their reaction is going to be, and I'm almost waiting over, this just happened under 2 weeks ago, and I'm sort of waiting to see if there's ever going to be some sort of negative repercussion from it. And I don't know that there necessarily will be, but it's the same thing, man. Like in the corporate world, I just don't feel that they don't need to know that. I feel like my job is to show up and hustle and do to crush it every day. Yeah. They don't need to know who I love or who I'm hanging out with or what I'm doing on my personal time, or maybe they do. It's such a weird thing, man. So I resonate with you on that aspect of your journey.
I don't know, I think now, like in my most recent careers, I'm quite open about it. I've actually used it to my benefit,
Good.
So I mean, like, it's like, what can we do to get closer to people, especially like the female population, I think like I'm such a feminist. Like, I think women should run the world because like they're so well thought out. You know, like compared to like men make very quick decisions that probably are not the best decisions. Yeah. They're like, yeah, women should be in war. Like, yes, they should. Like, there's some sneaky stuff going on. But I was like, yeah, I'm all about it. So like, I want to be close to them. I've always been obsessed with like how women think, and I actually like. And in my interview at Sprinkler, I was talking about, they're like, what books are you reading? And I was like, oh, I'm reading Zane and this, and they were all female erotica. And then they're like, wow, that's pretty intense. I was like, I'm just going to come out gay right now and let you know. But I was like, it's because I'm obsessed with just understanding things that I don't know. I'm so curious, you know? So I love hanging out with that population. And I've
never thought about that.
Yeah.
I like to read.
It's cool. How women like take down men. You're like, we're like, hey, what's up, girl? What's up? You know, like as a straight guy or something.
Yeah.
Or even as a gay guy, they're like Grindr or like in person. But like women, like they're like months of planning, or like they're trying to lure guys on. And like, I think it's just fascinating. And I think, they're doing that with everything else, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and how they're going to respond to you. And I was like, that's really, really cool. But I like would connect really well with girls. So I'd have that protection. And even the guys or whatever, you know, like, hey dude, I can help you out, I'll be your wingman. Well, they love that.
Yeah. It's funny, there's a female, I don't know if she knows that I'm gay or straight. I don't know. But she made a comment to me the other day, and she's like, isn't it funny how guys think that as soon as they can get a six-pack, that they can just run everything, rule the world, that they can just be with whatever girl they want, and they can be an asshole to me because they're jacked. She's like, it's so funny to me. Like, it is somewhat hilarious that they think like, bam, and now it's just like, I can do whatever I want, you know?
Like, nope.
Yeah.
You gotta tell her that's why you need a gay best friend, so we can put him in his place.
That's what I'm gonna tell her. Yeah, next time I see her. This is a question from my last guest that he wanted me to ask you. If you could go back exactly 1 year ago and tell yourself something, is there anything you'd want to tell yourself?
You know, that's a question I ask people all the time, actually, myself. But yeah, I think there's tons of things I'd want to tell myself. Probably a big one would be like to trust your gut. You know. I think we get a lot in our fields, we're overthinking things. I think about things tons. When I walk out of this room with you, I'm going to rethink this interview over and over. You know, what did I say? But I think it's just like your gut decisions are the best decisions. You know, any test taker can tell you that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I try to tell myself now, and I wish I would have trusted myself more at that time, because I would be in a better position.
Yeah. I just finished a book called The Gift of Fear, and if I was to sum it up in a sentence, it's 50% case studies that are around murder, rape, theft, things of that nature, and often people's reactions to one of these incidents is, how did this happen? We had no clue. And the book is essentially telling you, you had all the clues, you had all the evidence, and the book is imploring you on every page to do exactly what you just said, of listen to your gut. Our intuition is so spot on all the time. So if you feel like someone's not a good person, that you know that.
Yeah, you know.
Follow that instinct of
Absolutely.
like, I don't need to know what it is. I don't need to do any more research, but I don't need this person in my circle. I'm not going to get in this elevator, whatever it is. But if you happen to have some spare time and you wanted a book to reinforce that, it's a great read, man. It was one of my favorite books I've ever read. I've talked about it like on enough episodes. I should probably shut up, or they should start paying me a royalty. One of the two.
You should get the Amazon link for your thing. Put it on there.
Yeah.
One more that I think of that's important for our community is that you don't owe anybody anything. You know, like if people want to do things for you, let them do it. But you do not owe them anything. I tell myself that. I keep telling everyone else. You know, they feel like bound to somebody. You know, like again, trusting your gut. Like if someone buys you a drink at the bar, like you don't have to talk to them. You know, like you don't have to take that. You know, it doesn't matter. Then there's many other situations, but I think that's a big one too. People have done things for me in my career or whatever, and I'm like, that was their decision. That was their decision, and you are not their slave because of it.
Right. It's a gift.
Yes.
Yeah, accept it, and yeah. One question I wanted to ask you, purely for myself, is I have a great admiration for you, because you seem like you're very confident in who you are as a person. In my process of coming out, I stopped counting, but probably 20 plus, I don't know the number, and the number is insignificant. But I had a number of people say incredibly hurtful things to me, where to this day, I'm sometimes afraid to not sometimes, I am afraid for particular friends to find out that I'm gay because I'm worried about their reaction. And no one has said anything hurtful to me in years. So I have this stack of evidence saying, like, people, David, accept you, like, fucking accept yourself, you know? But if there's someone who's, you know, struggling with their own confidence, and they don't even have to necessarily be part of the LGBT community. I think everyone struggles with confidence, right? So if you were to give some advice to someone who is struggling with just accepting themselves and just really not being afraid to be them, what would you tell them to start to do?
Okay, I love that question. I love that question so much. So I think you see people struggle so much to be liked by everybody, but the dirty truth is that you will not be, and you never will be liked by everyone. Right. And I think, honestly, feel like if you can't be yourself around those people, like, fuck them. You know, like, when I finally figured that out, you know, like, people aren't going to like me because I'm young. People aren't going to like me because I'm gay. People aren't going to like me because of this. Like, I'm like, oh, well, I know sooner. Let's not waste anybody's time. Be like, hey, dude, this is who I am. This is who you are. You don't like that? Either sometimes they can be educated, which I love educating people, you know, helping them out when they have questions. But if they're going to be, you know, a narcissist about it, then, like, you're not gonna do it. I'm like, whatever, you know, like, I'm gonna walk away from that. But I think you're just not gonna be loved by everybody, and if the harder you try, the more you're gonna be disappointed. But the sooner you realize that it's about quality and not quantity, and then you're going to be a little bit happier. Because I know that a lot of people in Austin, tons, you can ask people, like, have you met Matticus? And they're going to like, oh, yeah, I know him.
I'm going to start asking people
Yeah,
that.
go for it. And they're like, yeah, I know him. It's going to be really bad or really good. I don't know, in the middle, maybe. But the thing is, like, I have different levels of groups. Like, there's peers, there's friends, and there's best friends, and you're your elites, you know?
Yeah.
Like, your ride or die guys.
Yep.
But I'm like, if I just say hi to you and like, hello, like, we're friends and stuff, but I was like, I don't even have the capacity, you know, to have this many people in my life. And you shouldn't either. Like, focus on the people that you want to spend time with, not all the people that don't matter, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I remember one time I was talking with a friend and he said, basically what you just said, but he said, not everyone is going to like you and you are not going to like everyone. And you need to learn, David, that that's 110% okay, because if you keep trying to control this, you're going to spend your entire life miserable.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's annoying. I know I had people that, like, want to be friends with me, and I'm like, dude, just, like, stop, you know? You have to have, I'm sure it's had to happen to you, right? And you're like, bro, they're like, let's just hang out, let's try again. I'm like, bro, I'm over it, you know? Like, it's not going to happen for you. Yeah. Like, just don't even say hi to me anymore, you know? The guy that slapped me in the face. You know, that really hard. Like, we're done.
Stop squirting mustard on me.
We're done here. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What would you like me to ask the next guest?
No, I'm sure I could talk to you forever. You're very easy to talk to.
I feel like we could make this a 4-hour episode. But hey, man, I loved everything that we chirped about. And if you want to come back for a part 2 at some point, you're more than welcome, man. My door's open to you.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Before we go, everyone, this episode, if I don't know if you noticed, I teared up at one point. I laughed a shit ton. I feel like I'm going to cry my whole drive to my friend's house today out of a mix of both empathy for what you went through, and also I feel like you just lit like that internal fire in me today, just from everything that you went through to where you are now is just so inspiring, man. And let me compose myself so I can get this out. I want other people to hear this as well, because there are people struggling with their confidence. There are people with access to podcasts that maybe are living in an abusive home right now, or on the street, or in a shelter, and they need that fire within them as well. So please take a 60 seconds to give us 5 stars on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, go to Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars and a 1-word review minimum there as well, because that's the only way that we're going to reach that person. So I would implore you guys to please do that for me, do that for Matticus, do it mainly for the person that needs to hear this episode, because it will only reach them by your actions. So I really appreciate it. Matticus, thank you so much for being here today, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Tears of joy. Tears of joy.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course. Everyone, have a healthy and happy Saturday night. Thank you so much for tuning in with us, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.